We got to start all over again, I guess. Well, I see us now on the screen here. Yes.
And my audio is on. Okay, so that was because I just remembered that last night, guess what Microsoft did? They did an update on my computer. So of course, every setting was changed and I didn't remember until just now when I saw that the audio was off. My bad. But I could also say that, Joe, I planned that open just to have that map up there on the screen blank to let everybody know that the show was coming. So
Yes. Yes.
it would have worked
So
either
here we
way.
are.
So welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show. We've got everything working so far. Knock on my wooden table here. So a couple of things to mention. Jason Schaefer, who shows up on the chat board from time to time, and he pointed out on one of his weather posts on his Facebook page that if New York City doesn't hit 80 degrees, I believe by Sunday or Monday, it will be the latest first 80-degree high in about 25 years.
Really? I thought that it has already hit 80 degrees at Central
I
Park.
don't think
It is not?
I don't think so. Newark, I believe, has, but I don't think uh,
Hmm.
the park has. I'm not sure if LaGuardia has either. It's funny in LaGuardia in the spring because they get that sea breeze from the northeast, so sometimes you think they're going to warm up and they don't. They save their they save their 5 degree higher than everybody else temperature spreads for the heat of the summer in July and August.
Well,
Our temperature hit 81 today.
did
Ah,
you hear that
yes, I
from the
did.
executive producer?
Yes,
Yes.
she's working
So
the
we hit 81 here in beautiful downtown Putnam Valley.
she's working the China department up in Macy's on the second floor, I believe, at the moment.
No,
So
yeah, actually, it's
yeah,
true.
go ahead.
The good China is upstairs above my head. So,
Yeah, it's been a weird couple of days. For one thing, you had all that dry air from the north that just kind of cradled around that coastal low, but it got to a point where the air to the north warmed up so much that the northeast wind yesterday actually brought temperatures up along the coast to up close to and even over 70 in some places. So that was a little unusual and something I didn't think of that this because this time of year when you have a situation like this, we knew it was going to be upside downish with warm air to the north and northeast and northwest, and the northeast wind is usually a wind that is not one that warms things up, especially in the spring. But yesterday was a rare day where it happened in reverse. And we've also been dealing with this sort of cradle of clouds. And I noticed tonight, Joe, that there's like a fog bank. There's a fog bank offshore that's already backed westward into Long Island. So I
right.
assume it's going to probably back a bit further west. Um, the other thing I want to point out, because it's there, it's been there for a bunch of runs now, and it's now there on day 8, I believe, or even day 7, between day 7 and day 8. But the GFS, remember, we're going into the season now where it's going to predict 20 of the last 2 hurricanes. Is actually showing something coming out of the Southwest Caribbean and heading into the Gulf of Mexico. And I'm gonna talk about that just to kind of set up what's going on a little bit later on. May hurricanes are rare, but they're. I was doing some research, and there have been a few. The last one, Joe, was 50 years ago. Hurricane Alma. I believe it was in 1970. It was either 71 or 72 that went into Jamaica in May as a Category 1, and then it just got sheared apart when it came out the other side. By the time it got to the Grand Cayman Islands, all that was left was a depression, but it eventually brought heavy rains up into Florida and parts of the southeast. But Anyway, it's on there. You know the drill, folks. The models are going to just spin up things all over the place when we get deeper into hurricane season. It's kind of a surprise to see it do it now, but I'm just going to touch upon a couple of things that are going on, and we'll see if we can make some sense of it all. So, anyway, uh, you all set to go?
I'm all set. I'm just looking over. Yesterday got to 75. In April, it was 71 for the max temperature on April the 12th. So yeah, Central Park apparently has not gotten to 80 degrees. I honestly thought, I guess up here we've had a few days that have touched or even gone above 80. Case in point today. So I guess yeah, that's kind of unusual that Central Park has waited this long to touch that 80-degree plateau, so to speak.
So, by the way, you have, we have, well, you have, we, the collective we have this lunar eclipse on Sunday night, and you're concerned about what normally happens whenever we have some sort of astronomical event. It's got to get cloudy. So, anyway, if you'd like to express your concerns now, we could do that, or if you'd rather wait, we can do it along the way.
Yeah, I've heard people and even use your term, Joe, gloom and doom. Oh, I looked at the forecast; it's calling for cloudy skies with showers. Oh, we're going to miss the eclipse. Well, I'll tell you, in my humble opinion, what we're going to see on Sunday is probably going to be maybe a little foggy or cloudy in the morning. Then the sun is going to burn through, and we're going to have a sunny afternoon. And then sometime between 3 o'clock and 10 o'clock, 3 p.m. to 10 p.m., in that 7-hour time frame, I think we're going to have a shot at seeing showers and maybe thunderstorms. It's all going to be convective. It's all going to be due to the sun churning the atmosphere up. Right. There is going to be a weather front, a cold front to our west. But I honestly believe that after 10 o'clock, as the atmosphere cools and the atmosphere becomes more stable, that the showers will diminish and end, and the cloud cover will actually diminish a bit as well. And I think we may actually be fortunate to see some rifts or holes or good breaks in the clouds that will afford us some occasional views of the moon during the total eclipse late on Sunday night. The eclipse will begin at around 10:30 in the evening. An hour later, the moon will be in totality, and it will stay in totality until just before 1 a.m. It'll be a long total eclipse by the standards of most moon eclipses, and then it'll pretty much all be over with by 2 o'clock. So, all things considered, from 10:30 to 2 o'clock in the morning, 10:30 p.m. to 2 a.m., I think that there will be at least a few breaks in the clouds so that people will be able to see what's going on up there, and it'll become things will become more into focus for us to be a little bit more precise on projection as to what may happen on Sunday as we get closer to the event, as we get into tomorrow and Saturday, and hopefully we'll have a real good idea on Sunday just how much or how little of the eclipse we'll be able to see.
I'm on the same page with you. I think actually I might even be a shade more optimistic. I thought maybe it might even be partially clear. To me, it depends. Sometimes because we're going to be kind of in a bit of a no man's land as the winds are supposed to bend around in the southwest ahead of that cold front on Monday. So if they do that on Sunday, particularly later in the day, and we don't wind up with something silly happening where you get maybe a light southeast wind and a bit of an inversion that develops in some places, especially in and around hills and valleys and so on. I think you got a shot. If we can, get a nice steady 5 to 10 mile an hour wind from the southwest to keep that from happening. I'm thinking, on the standpoint of any scattered convection, it should be mostly away from the coast. And also scattered. So it's not. I don't think it's going to be any kind of widespread activity. We'll save that for maybe a chance for that on Monday. I also think, just jumping onto Monday for a moment, because it caught my eye back days ago, and now it's kind of really sort of starting to focus in. I think we've got a shot on Monday to get a little bit of severe weather risk because there's a fairly sharp upper trough that's going to be swinging through the Great Lakes into the Northeast just as this cold front is coming through. So I think we're probably going to. SBC doesn't have anything there now other than predictability too low, but it would not surprise me at all if we see at least a marginal risk and perhaps might even see a small area of slight risk of severe weather in parts of the Northeast and down into the northern Mid-Atlantic states. Again, in my never to be humble opinion.
Well, you're absolutely right, and I like how the term you used just a few moments ago. We are going to be basically on Sunday in a no man's land, so to speak, with the hope that the winds turn around into a. You see, if we had an eclipse tonight, or if we had an eclipse tomorrow, whatever, I'd say there's no question in my mind that we would have zero probability of seeing it because of those southeasterly winds bringing in that moisture. But the key is the cold front coming in from the west, having the cold front not come too close to us so that we get like a surge of convection or thunderstorm or shower activity that lingers into a good part of Sunday night, but stays just far enough back to allow for that moisture to diminish or dissipate during the first half of Sunday night. And again, turn those winds into a more southwesterly direction over the land, a drier southwesterly wind that would preclude any of the low-hanging cloud cover or fog to the form as we're seeing tonight, or even spotty drizzle. And that does give us a chance. That does give us a chance for seeing parts of the sky show on Sunday night. So again, we'll see. And we're going to be back here, I presume, on Sunday morning. And Sunday, we could probably get into a more detailed forecast for eclipse watchers. And maybe I can even bring on a time lapse on Sunday via, Zoom, showing people what we should be able to see if the skies are clear 20 degree on Sunday night. My problem up here in Putnam Valley is I live in an area. My house is surrounded on three sides by 50 to 75-foot trees. And the other night, I stepped out on my driveway. I said, okay, let me see. Where's the moon when the eclipse begins? And I said, oh, damn it. It's going to be behind all these big trees. I have to go all the way down off to one side onto my lawn just to get it clear of the tree line. And that's going to be difficult because, not difficult, but it means instead of just moving my telescope, wheeling it out in front of my front steps, and I have a 10-inch telescope, pretty big telescope, and now I have to carry the damn thing out over the lawn, and if we had showers earlier in the day, the lawn is going to be wet. I said, this is crazy. I have far too many trees surrounding by my house. Thank God none of them have fallen during some of the tropical storms and nor'easters that we've had over the past. But yeah, that's going to be my problem. Or I can get in the car, and about 2/10 of a mile up the road from where I live, there's a softball field, and I have watched celestial events from there in a nice wide open area. But it's like near midnight, and I'd like after the thing is peaking and is over, I could just say, all right, that's it. I'm going to call it a night, roll the thing back in my garage, and go to sleep. But when you're out in the middle of a ball field, okay, all right, now I got to carry this thing in, put it in the back of the SUV, make sure I'm not leaving anything here, get in the car, start it up, go. But if it means I'm going to be able to see the thing on Sunday night, I'm willing to go through all of that aggravation for all of that.
By the way, I know that some of you have mentioned that there's buffering going on. I'm sorry about that. I'm just watching my signal power tonight. I don't know. Everybody on the line must be watching Netflix or something. I'm not sure. So there's nobody else here. It's just me. But this is the old cable line that they use here is something from the Middle Ages. But every day I'm one day closer to getting broadband. It's all out there. The wires are all there.
One of these days.
One of these days soon. They're going to come and hook
One
it
of
up.
these days.
So I apologize for that. Alfred Phillips from Wainwright, Alaska. Our buddy in Wainwright is in the land now of 24-hour sun, Mr. Rayo. No sunsets. And Jason Schaefer asks him, and it's a good question. How do you feel about daylight saving time? Well, I guess it really doesn't matter, does it? No, I know you don't. I mean, how Alfred feels about it. I mean, since it's 24-hour sun there, what difference does it make?
I could, with what he's going through, because Renato and I went down to Antarctica, and down there we only had like 2 hours when the sun was below the horizon. I mean, I would wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and we had dark shades, so the room was dark because they know that daylight is going to get in during the time people are trying to sleep. But I just, out of curiosity, 3 o'clock in the morning, I went over to the shade and I looked, and I said, holy mackerel. And there was the sun already 5 or 10 degrees above the horizon at 3 a.m. I can't. It just blows your mind that you have something like that happening. By the way, to Birder Lady on the chat board, she says, "Good evening, gorgeous day in Sussex County, New Jersey," and she says, "Joe Rayo, Craig Allen mentioned you and your stargazing on one of his posts. I think it was yesterday. Yeah, that's I know what you're talking about. Craig is a really nice guy, and I will pass. I have been doing this for years with Craig. I have been sending him all kinds of astronomical events. And the one thing that makes Craig different from all the others in the tri-state area, who I also have given astronomical information to about upcoming events, the difference is that Craig will either say on the air, and I want to thank Joe Rayo for this, or put it on his Facebook page. He is a real minch. He knows where the information is coming from, and he doesn't hold back anything. He'll tell everybody, I got this information from Joe. The other guys on television here in the local area, um, they may say something about it, but they won't say anything about, I got this information from Joe Rayo, or posted, or thank you, Joe Rayo. So to Craig, I thank him, but that's typical with Craig. Craig has been doing that again. He and I have known each other for many, many years, and he knows you too, Joe. And we all we know who are the good guys in the local area as far as the broadcast brethren are concerned.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so let's take a look at what's happening weather-wise while I'm loading up the maps. Welcome to everybody on the chat board tonight, and thanks for being here and being patient with the schedules going a little bit up and down this week. I wasn't feeling too well yesterday, but still managed to pull off a show. But I'm feeling a lot better today, so that's a plus. And for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. Use your Gmail account to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can get notifications every time the Joe and Joe Weather Show is on, which is usually Sundays at 11 a.m. Although we're going to have to change that this week, Joe, because I have a birthday party, so we may have to do a Sunday night show instead if that works for you. And the other days, Monday through Thursday, usually at 7:30, when Joe is not hobnobbing across the world doing library talks. He was in the Philippines a couple of days ago. He was on Long Island a few days before that. I mean, he racks up these frequent flyer miles. So anyway, on the subscribe to my YouTube channel, you'll get those notifications, so you'll never miss the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Okay, so anyway, let's look at. I brought up the Atlantic satellite view here tonight for a couple of reasons. First off, if you look off the South Carolina coast, right there, that is where the upper low is right now. It is now migrating westward. It's doing it as scheduled and as advertised. The actual low center at the surface is somewhere underneath it, just to the south. So it's not, the two are basically separated now, although you could see the low level swirl and you could see the upper level swirl as well. But one of the things that it's doing now by moving westward is that instead of having our winds coming in the upper atmosphere from the northeast, they are now, because we still have a bit of a closed low here. So I'll draw the height lines around it. That's like isobars at the surface. So see those height lines. The upper air winds are turning easterly and southeasterly. So all this junk that's out here, that's kind of how I would refer it to, as a sort of, you have this big sprawling upper low. There's large areas where there's no weather and no clouds at all. There's other areas where you've got clouds and showers. Well, all this junk is going to try to rotate around what's left of this upper low as it continues to move westward and weaken. And it's going to take another 2 days for the low to completely disappear and eventually lift up to the northeast as just sort of an open shortwave trough, which it'll do probably on Saturday. That's why I think Sunday will wind up being the better of the 2 weekend days. But some of that junk, by the way, includes, and if you look on the loop on the upper right, and then extending back across southeastern New England and southern New England to the Jersey Shore and Long Island, backing westward, that's all low clouds and fog, and that's going to be coming in and moving inland during the overnight hours. So that's the first change. And the other big, more important change, especially for areas up to the north where it's been bone dry with very low dew points, and we've had fire risk the last few days. in upstate New York and in parts of New England, and even down into interior Pennsylvania, the dew points are going to be coming up finally. So that will ease the risk for tomorrow and make it virtually non-existent by the actually it may make it virtually non-existent tomorrow. There might be some remnants of drier air as you go further north, but I think by Saturday, the dew points are going to be up enough uh, to get rid of all of that. But um, this makes the
Probably
next.
about 60, probably around 60 or thereabouts, give or take a degree or two, right? Or,
Yeah, and I think this is what we're going to be dealing with over the next 2 days is the fact that you're going to have this junk trying to rotate back westward. That's going to create some cloud issues tomorrow. And the other thing is with what's left of the upper low, once it opens up, it'll move northeast, and I think there'll probably be an area of rain or showers moving up the coast that'll pass near or just offshore during the day on Saturday. Earlier this week, the models were trying to push that rain further to the west, but I think there's enough enough west in that southwest flow. There's enough of a westerly component to make it at least flat enough that most of the rain will pass by to the east, and that Saturday won't be. By no means will it be a washout. There might be some light rain, there might be some drizzle, but there might even be a passing scattered shower, but I don't think it's going to be anything more than that. And then Sunday, definitely the better of the 2 weekend days.
yeah, I think so too. I think we're fortunate in that the remnants of the upper low. And about a week ago, when I was looking at this and looking ahead for the eclipse, I was saying, I don't believe this. I don't believe this system that's out in the middle of the country is going to come by, go off the coast, swing around down toward Florida, and then come right back up right during the weekend of the eclipse. But I think it's a very fortuitous that it does come on Saturday. It opens up a bit, and that it pushes on out. And then, as you said, Joe, just about 10 minutes ago, it leaves us in kind of a no man's land between the open wave that was once the closed low to our north and east, and the cold front that's approaching from the west. And somewhere in between is where we're going to be on Sundays, late Sunday and Sunday evening. So, and indeed, that also means that Sunday probably will be the better of the 2 weekend days weather-wise for whatever you may want to do. A little cloudier, cooler, a little wetter maybe on Saturday, and hopefully a little drier and a little milder for Sunday.
I just widened to the full U.S. loop so you can see the scope of things from coast to coast. And we do see across the northern plains tonight some very busy weather, a big blow up of showers and thunderstorms. And that is part of SPC's severe weather risk, which we'll get to in a moment. As far as the radar is concerned, we are looking at some of the showers from the upper low are coming into the coast of the Carolinas, but you can see that there's just these weak bands with large gaps in between. It's not some sort of widespread rain. That's why we're not that bullish for the idea of rain on Saturday here. And in the Northeast, of course, even with all these low clouds coming in, it's pretty dry and it's not going to pick up any drizzle that's around. Meanwhile, tonight up in Wisconsin, we do have some showers and thunderstorms there in northeastern Wisconsin. And look how busy it is tonight across eastern Nebraska into Minnesota. We've got numerous severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings up at the moment. And then they back westward into South Dakota. That almost looks like, I know Jason mentioned this also on his post, a derecho might be taking shape here. And we'll follow it along to see what happens during the overnight. But that looks pretty impressive. So do the storms that are up even further north. There's some very strong thunderstorms moving up through northern Minnesota and through central North Dakota. And of course, with the heavy rains that extend back from there back into Montana, we've got flash flood issues going on there. Remember, just although it's gone for the most part, I'm sure it's gone. The Remember, they had back-to-back snowstorms up there. Meanwhile, on the watches and warnings map, we don't have anything going on in the east. A small area of heat advisories up in northwestern Illinois and eastern Iowa. Severe thunderstorm watches up from central Kansas northeastward up to northwestern Iowa. A tornado watch up just to the north of that, where we saw on the radar. You see where the flash flood watches are up. And even some flood advisories already being posted parts of northern Minnesota to North Dakota. High wind warnings in parts of the western Dakotas. We still have what seems to be a diminishing area of of red flag warnings, thankfully, but they're still there in eastern Colorado, western Kansas, southwestern Nebraska, into West Texas and eastern New Mexico. But for a change, we're not seeing much of that going on in the Southwest, where it's been absolutely bone dry. And the Storm Prediction Center tonight, there are your severe thunderstorm and tornado watches up. We have 4 severe thunderstorm watches up, including an area in northeastern Wisconsin, a big area of tornado watch that is up in the northeastern quarter of South Dakota, western Minnesota, southeastern North Dakota. On the mesoscale discussion, I'm just pulling it up here. Tornado and wind damage threat will continue. That's the headline from SBC. Will continue from southeast North Dakota to far northeast South Dakota and west central to south central Minnesota. You see they outline that area there in the dark red. Just going to skim through this. Wind damage, tornado threat next couple of hours in the area I just mentioned. Um, the Cape values, Joe, are up close to 3,500, which is pretty
Ouch.
high. Um, the jet is creating a lot of low-level wind shear, uh, combined with 50 to 60 knots of deep layer shear will continue to be favorable for severe thunderstorms the next couple of hours. The low-level jet will continue to strengthen early this evening, which will support a tornado threat with supercells and Boeing line segments. Also, the line was moving northeast at 65 to 70 knots. Oh
Yeah,
my! And talk about momentum adding to whatever winds you're going to get. That would
right.
easily create wind gusts over 70 knots, and ahead of the more intense portions of the line. That's pretty impressive. This is a
So you don't think about this. I mean, people. Of course, everything is ingrained into your brain when you watch the movie The Wizard of Oz. You think Kansas, Kansas. That's where they have all those tornadoes. That thing. You don't think about Minnesota or North or South Dakota. But there we have it tonight. Again, with those Cape values, and as you just mentioned, Joe, the sheer momentum of the movement of the mesoscale system at like 65 knots. I mean, they're cruising for a bruising tonight up in that part of the United States with this potential threat.
Yeah, they had an area of moderate risk earlier. That has come down because most of the storms, the strongest storms now have moved out of the threat area that they had indicated earlier in the day. They've already passed there in the Dakotas. Now they're shifting eastward. So we have enhanced risk in Minnesota down into northwestern Iowa, big area of slight risk. This, by the way, comes with they're only giving it, they have a 2 to 5% tornado risk. Earlier today in the moderate risk zone, they had a 10% tornado risk. But this is what SPC is indicating. Also, a small area of marginal risk for isolated severe thunderstorms in southeastern Louisiana and southern Mississippi. Now, as we move on to day 2, going forward, tomorrow we start to see the risk area begin to shift eastward, but it's still, because of what's going on in the east, it's not making a whole lot of eastward progress. So from Wisconsin down to Oklahoma for the slight risk, the marginal risks extend down into West Texas and also south into the lower Mississippi Valley to the Louisiana coast. And then on day 3, as we begin to set up the next cold front for Monday here in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states, we're looking at a slight risk in Kansas, Oklahoma, southwest Missouri, northwestern Arkansas, with marginal risk going all the way up into northern Michigan. Last check, I don't think they updated this again. Predictability too low for Sunday into Monday, Monday into Tuesday, and beyond. So there will be some severe weather around. They're just not confident about naming any sort of specific area. As far as rainfall is concerned from WPC, not much, a quarter of an inch to maybe as much as a half, and that would be generated by anything that happens probably more on Monday than anything else, because there's not a whole lot going to happen beyond that into next week from what I see at the moment. We've got some heavier rains across the Ohio Valley of up to an inch and a half from West Virginia to southern to central Indiana. Also up and down the middle and lower Mississippi Valley of 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half. Up to 2 or 3 inches possible in parts of western North Dakota, eastern Montana. And then we have, of course, what seems to be the endless rain of the Pacific in the Pacific Northwest lately, and the endless drought that continues through much of California, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, and parts of West Texas.
You
That
know when that drought is going to break?
I don't know actually. I can't imagine when.
I'll tell you exactly the time frame when that drought's going to
Oh, when
break.
you're going
It's going to
there.
break. It's going to break between May 24th and May 31st.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to be with, and you know, you talk about people, Joe, in the world today. 25 years ago, at an astronomy convention in Connecticut, I had the great pleasure of shaking hands with and purchasing a book from Don Mackholz. Now, Don Mackholz is known today as one of the foremost comet observers in the world. He has discovered 12 comets that bear his name. We only met for 5 minutes. We only, had a brief moment of shake hands. He autographed the book for me. Then, when I had my article about the meteor shower, the potential meteor shower, or maybe meteor outburst at the end of this month, published in Sky and Telescope magazine, Don Mackholz contacted me and he said, "Hey, I really enjoyed your article. I found it most interesting. Are you looking for some place where you want some really dark, black, starry skies and where the weather usually is quite good in the month of May?" And he invited my wife and I to his home in northwest Arizona. And you know that this guy lives off the beaten path because he said, "If you come, I'll meet you on highway, whatever it is, 93 or whatever, the exit. I'll meet you there, and then you just follow me on the 18-mile dirt road that leads from the highway to my house."
I,
But there, he's got all of this astronomical equipment that he uses, and one need not wonder why he's discovered so many comets because he's got the sky. There's a certain scale, we call it the Bortle scale, which runs from 1 to 9. Now, if you're at 34th Street in Midtown Manhattan and 5th Avenue in front of the Empire State Building, that's considered to be a Bortle 9 sky. That means you can look up and maybe you might see 2 or 3 stars and the moon because of all the light pollution. Where Don lives, Don says most nights I have a Bortle 2 sky, and a Bortle 2 means that if you hold your hand out at arm's length and hold it up to the sky, you just might be able to see the outline of your hand in the darkness. And
that's
so
dark.
that pretty much is that's pretty much the kind of sky that he has available to him. And he said, "Look, you want to see the meteor shower? If there is a meteor shower, come here, come on down." And he has apparently a nice little guest house or whatever like that. Now get this. Now I have only met this man face to face for 5 minutes 25 years ago, and here he is inviting not only me but my wife to come on over, come on, we'll have lots of fun. I'm really amazed, but couldn't turn that down, and that's why we'll be heading out in that thing. We'll also be since we're going to be in the vicinity, we'll also be going to a few other places, the Grand Canyon, and maybe a couple of days in Vegas or whatever like that. So we're out there, and if all of you folks who might be watching, who's saying, when is the drought going to break and when are we going to get rain? Believe me, now that moi is coming your way, so will the rain and the showers and the break of the.
Well, let's hope not.
In 1999, I had a trip. I led a tour of about 50 people to Lanzarote. That's in the Canary Islands to see a meteor shower. And I went to Lanzarote because climatologically, Lanzarote is a desert, Joe. They get a grand total per year of rain of like 6 inches for the whole year. And on the night of the meteor shower, we had a shower, all right, of hydrometeors. It poured. It poured that night. And all of the natives who were there were out there saying, "It never does this at this time of the year. Why is this happening? It never rains." And I said, I am the disaster. I am the bearer of bad. In fact, they at one time, the local astronomy club here in New York, they used to go to the Empire State Building for eclipses of the sun and the moon or whatever. The club voted me out. I mean, I was still a member, but they made a proclamation Joe Rayo is never allowed to go on the Empire State Building for an eclipse watch, because I went up there like 5 times and got clouded out and rained out every single time. It was called the Curse of Rayo. So to all of you who are waiting for rain and looking for the drought to break, the Curse of Rayo is headed in your direction for the end of this month.
Too funny. Too funny. But you know what? Yeah, sometimes it's like what was the character that always had the cloud with the rain over his head? I forgot.
Oh, Joe Bissell
Yeah.
from Little Abner. Remember that?
Yes, exactly.
That's that. He was supposed to pronounce his name Joe Bissell. That's that's what Al Capp said. He didn't know how to make or write the phonetic way of saying Joe. So I think it comes out like Joe Bissell.
All right. All right, let's take a look at what the models are telling us for the longer view. And we are happy to report, for those of you who don't like blocking patterns, that this blocking pattern is going away. This is what it looks like tonight with the upper low. You can see it's completely separated from the overall flow that is dominating the atmosphere, with a westerly flow into the southwest. Then it turns up and goes up into Canada. This thing remains completely separate and fairly well developed, relatively speaking, off the southeast coast, but again, separate from everything else that's going on. Now, the trick is to get this western energy to force this to open up and lift up to the northeast so we can get it out of the way. And that's what's going to happen. You see the upper low starts to weaken during the day tomorrow. And by Saturday morning, what's left of it is in the central Appalachians. You've got a trough that's swinging through the Dakotas. It takes that weakening trough up through the northeast, and that should leave us in a pretty good spot on Sunday, because that there's enough distance between that and the next system near east of Lake Winnipeg, so that we should have a day where at least I'm thinking there's going to be some sun, and we're going to see temperatures warm up in the northeast and mid-Atlantic states everywhere. There won't be except for local sea breezes, there'll be a shot to get temperatures up above 80 in some places for the first time. Other places have already gotten there. Now, this trough on Monday, Joe, looks fairly sharp. It's a negatively tilted trough from an upper low in central Hudson Bay. It's a fairly sharp upper trough. And there's some cold, unstable air that's going to be swinging eastward with that cold front. So I'm thinking, again, as I mentioned earlier, I think the dynamics are there for at least some thunderstorms, certainly. And I would not be surprised if we see some severe weather risk being indicated once we come into SPC's range, which won't be until Saturday. So we won't see anything tomorrow. I doubt you'll see anything on the day 4 outlook tomorrow. But I think you're going to see it. You're going to see something on Saturday. And then as we move along, everything's normalized by the time we get to next week. You just basically have this sort of west to east flow, upper low in New Brunswick, upper low off the west coast. We don't have everything's moving along, which is good. The air up in the Arctic regions is not blocky. You don't have any kind of ridge building up in there. The upper low will eventually pull out of the east as things move along, and by the time we get to next weekend, I mentioned yesterday that maybe next weekend we could see some fairly warm weather in the east, and the Europeans at least saying yes to that by building a nice ridge up the east coast for next weekend. Fairly sharp, and maybe it'll be the first nice, warm spring weekend that the East will see the weekend before Memorial Day weekend, which of course means that the actual weekend of Memorial Day weekend winds up being anything other than this, but who knows at that point. But definitely looking like things are normalizing and getting rid of this block.
I see a note from Christopedia saying that in reference to Brandon Humphreys, he said, I told him that much earlier. Joe Rayo is too loud or Joe Chiappi is too low. I have set it for Joe Rayo, and I can barely hear Joe Chiappi, but I'm not playing volume hockey.
Okay, hold on a second. I don't know what's, again, I'm just raising my volume levels here. Hold on just a second. Just a moment. So hopefully
And
that hopefully that makes it a little better. Let me move my mic a little
Tom
closer to
Contino
me.
making a comment. Tom Contino is diesel is over $6 a gallon. All trucking runs on diesel. I didn't know this, but you could also use diesel in your
Heating
oil
oil.
tank if you find yourself,
Because
for
heating
heating oil.
oil is $6
Right.
a gallon. Exactly. And whether
Right. I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know what heating oil costs at this moment. It may very well be $6 a gallon for all I know.
it's over $6. It's over $6.
Oh God, unbelievable.
I'm sorry for the feedback, folks. This happens every time Microsoft does an update. They screw up with my settings, and I completely forgot that they did this. So hopefully it'll settle down. Now the feedback's gone, so at least on my end of it anyway. I get very frustrated with this sort of stuff. So anyhow, I hope my volume is better. I brought my mic a little bit closer to me, and hopefully that will bring my voice up. Which thanks for letting us know, by the way, that it was low. So
Yes.
checking out the GFS, kind of doing the same idea here with just waiting for these silly maps to load, which they're doing one at a time. Oh, let me get rid of something here. See if that helps. Yeah, that helped a little bit. Okay, so I'll just run it backwards. As the maps are loading backwards, so this actually works. But here we go. Hey, we try. Look, folks, we go on the fly here a lot of the times. So I'm sorry it's not a neatly produced show, but I got to work with what I got. So anyway, here's the GFS with the same idea. Upper low opens up, and the GFS was very flattish with this system from Monday that's coming through the Great Lakes, and now it's suddenly kind of gotten back on board with what the Europeans was doing all along, which is to have a sharper trough moving through. And the models, I think, are supportive for the idea of at least some thunderstorms and maybe even some severe weather risks when we get there. And then we get that normalized west to east flow as we go through next week. And if you look down on the GFS anyway, because the European, by the way, does not have this at all, okay? Does not have it at all. But the GFS has slightly lower than normal pressures in the Western Caribbean. They're not very low. They're slightly below normal, maybe. And from that, it generates some sort of system that it moves over Cuba and into the western Gulf of Mexico, kind of gets wrapped up fairly strongly, and then heads on this run. It was to the Louisiana coast. On the last run, it was a little bit further west than that. Now, I want to address a couple of things with this before we move on to the rest of what the model is showing. And because, look, the bottom line is from now on, we're going to see models do this. As I said earlier, the GFS especially, and particularly the Canadian, which usually likes to spin up everything, including your own shoes, it's going to predict 20 of the next two tropical storms or hurricanes. So I wouldn't put much faith in this. But this is how it gets there.
But the last couple of years, I think we've commented more than one occasion that the GFS seems to have had a better handle as of forecasting tropical systems as opposed to the European.
That's true.
I don't know what it is.
I'm not discounting it because if we've had what is it, 7 years in a row or whatever it is, 6 out of the last 7 where we've had named tropical cyclones in the month of May. And by the way, the Canadian doesn't have anything, so just as a point of comparison. So I'm not completely discounting the idea that something could wind up showing up in the in the Southwest Caribbean the way the model is showing, but it is at this point I would deem what it literally has as a very 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 long shot. I just and I'll tell you why. I'm gonna I pulled up. I want to show at least this from the standpoint of what the model did in terms of the track and what it looks like. Okay, so I think there's only been one Category 3 hurricane on record in the month of May, And you may have to go back to the Civil War, apparently 1863, when that occurred. But if you believe the GFS, it does that. It actually has pressures down below 970 in the eastern and central Gulf of Mexico. And there it goes, takes a pretty wrapped up system up toward the Louisiana coast. So I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to take a look at something to see if there's anything that is remotely supportive from the standpoint of sea surface temperatures. So I looked at the Gulf of Mexico seawater temperatures, and the only area that the GFS could be correct where you see the green and the lighter green. The green is 27 degrees Celsius water, or 81 Fahrenheit, and 28 is about 83 or 4. And there's a strip of that runs through the east central Gulf of Mexico. In order for the GFS to be correct, you're going to have something that's going to has to track in this green area. Once you get outside that, most of the water in the Gulf of Mexico, in I don't know what you would call that color that's between the blue and the green. It looks like maybe an aquamarine color, is somewhere between 20, maybe probably around 25 degrees Celsius. And that's, that might support a tropical storm. It might support a minimal hurricane, but at best. But it won't support anything beyond that. And by the way, if you look at the shelf water off the Florida coast, it's downright relatively cold. In the
Cold,
Oh
yes.
yeah, I mean it's down around 25, 24, even a little patch of 23 there, and also along the east coast of Florida, relatively speaking, it's also mostly low and middle 70s. In the Keys, it's warm there at 28 or higher, and again in that strip, and also in the southwest Gulf, where we've got some very warm water there. So it let alone the fact that to show us a hurricane this time of year is rare enough. But it's really going to have, if that winds up being correct, it's going to have to thread an extremely fine needle to get into that area where the warm water is limited and remotely ideal for feeding into something of strength. That's uh, that's just kind of how I see it. The other thing is later in the period, of course, and this of course is such long range fantasy anyway. There's a deep trough that's going to be moving into the plains come about the time that this thing moves inland. The GFS on this model run gets missed by it, but there's another one behind it. So you would just probably shoot this straight up northward up the Mississippi Valley if you want to look. That's what it's literally saying. Who knows if that's going to be the case? So you know, uh, let the adventures begin with how the models are going to be doing things here in the interim, because we got to get used to it once we get to the heart of hurricane season. Meanwhile, as Joe said, for Sunday you could see now this is precip. It is not the radar, so I'll switch to the radar because of the eclipse, and you'll notice on the radar at 1 o'clock in the afternoon there's some showers, maybe a couple of thunderstorms there, parts of upstate New York into northeastern Pennsylvania. It's just about all gone by 8 o'clock, and then it's all gone after that. So a little bit of luck and a southwest wind, and hopefully you'll get at least some partial clearing of skies. There's something coming through in the early morning that's going to the north to set up the warm air for later Monday. And then the cold front comes through, which on this run, the GFS doesn't show much in the way of showers and thunderstorms, but a lot of times it doesn't show much in the way of showers and thunderstorms 4 days away. Dry weather follows. Looks like we've got another weather system approaching on Wednesday. Whether that survives or not, I don't know. With some showers there and a weak frontal passage. And then as we go into that next weekend, the 21st and 22nd, we'll see how that sets up. But I would think with the ridge, unless there's some kind of backdoor cold front that we're not seeing yet, that would be the weekend that I would point to with regards to seeing some significantly warmer weather.
Can you believe we're almost halfway through May already? And tomorrow,
Yeah.
of course, is Friday the 13th.
So
So
I'm sorry, I can hear some feedback popping up from time to time. I'm trying to stay away from my computer because I don't know what's picking it up. But so I went up day before yesterday because I had two of my friends. My friend Phil was here and his wife Veronica, and we went up to Brasstown Bald. I drove up there to just under 4,800 feet above sea level. The views from there, Joe, it was a crystal clear blue sky, sunny day. Uh, the views from up there were just absolutely spectacular, absolutely spectacular. Had to put my truck in second gear on the way down so that I didn't burn my brakes, but because it's a real, you don't realize how, I mean, you know, as you're going up that it's steep, and you're going around some, you can only go like 10, 15 miles an hour as you're driving up, and you go around some very, very sharp curves as you head up there. Thank God they have guardrails, but when you get to the very top and you look, because you get to the part where the parking lot is, and then you have to take they have a shuttle bus that takes you up to the top. So as you go up another, I don't know how many feet we go up, but it's at least several hundred feet higher in elevation as you head up on the shuttle bus. So when you get to the very top and you look down where the parking lot is, you're pretty high. Let alone looking down to where the where the ground where you just came from. You're way up there. It was very. I was almost a mile up. It was really spectacular. So if you're ever in North Georgia, make sure you go to Brasstown Bald. It's literally 10 minutes from my house, and they have walking trails, so you could even walk up from the main road, which is
Says the information center rises 4,784 feet above sea level and is just a short drive from Blairsville,
yes,
Hiawassee, and Helen.
yes.
I haven't been to Helen in a while.
We went to Helen on Monday. The little German town that's there. They have a lot of restaurants and novelty shops and things like that, and $6 ice creams and $10 funnel cakes. You know the drill. But it was a nice.
And they say,
nobody was there on Monday, which was great.
And they say it offers a spectacular 360-degree view of the surrounding areas, including 4 states:
yes,
Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, and on some days, if you're lucky, you can even see the skyline of Atlanta from up there.
Yeah, it really was quite the view. I did discover, by the way, that because I checked, the internet signal there is not good. So if I wanted to do the eclipse from the top of Brasstown Bald, I wouldn't be able to do it. And if I wanted to do a snowstorm up there, I wouldn't be able to do it because they do get a fair amount of snow up at the elevations here above 3,000, basically 2,500 to 3,000 feet and higher.
The question I'd like to ask is, would you dare to go up there in darkness? Aren't you a little concerned about the, going down the road or coming back on that curvy, swervy?
The road is paved, so that's a plus. The road is paved, so I'm good with that. And there are no lights. There's no street lights, so it would be, pretty much pitch black. Yeah, I don't know. The road is wide enough. There's a paved road that goes up to Bell Mountain, which is, I think it's 3,300 feet, and the views there are also equally spectacular. But that road is a two-way. It's 2 ways of traffic, but I'm telling you, Joe, it's barely enough to get one car on, through on one side, and there are trucks on that.
Right.
There are trucks on that road because there's a neighborhood up there. They get their Amazon deliveries or whatever it is. So if you have a truck passing you, that would not work very well. So anyway, again, I apologize. I know we had some audio problems and we had some streaming problems. Apparently we had a super chat hit, but I'm not seeing it.
We had a $10. I shouldn't even have mentioned the amount. I'm sorry about that. We did have a super chat hit tonight from our good friend Mr. Pravitsky. So, that was a while ago. That was about the time when we opened up here. So I haven't seen anybody since, but I may be wrong on that.
Okay. All right. So the chairman sent a Briller Jeopardy today that the chat board's going to play along with. Okay. So we're going to do it a little differently tonight. So so for tonight, those of you on the chat board, you can participate in this, and because I can tell you right now, I didn't know the answers to to this question, because my memory is pretty much shot. So let me find, where is he? There we go. So let's bring up. So here are the questions. Okay. So uh, there are these are the three letters. The letters P, the letters T, the letter P, the letter T, and the letter W. Only one, Joe, only one tropical system in the Atlantic has been retired for each of those letters. Can you name the storm? And if you're really good, can you name the year?
All right, with the W, the only one that I think would stand out for possible retirement would be Wilma.
That is correct.
The year, it was the year before Al Roker took off all that weight, because if you remember, the winds were so strong that it actually knocked Al Roker down.
Oh, God.
Well, actually, yeah, that must have been after he lost all that weight that it knocked him down. Or if it wasn't, when he had all that weight, it still knocked him down. That was a pretty significant storm. I don't remember the exact year that was. It was maybe, 2003 or whatever? I don't remember that. 2005. I knew it was sometime in the distant past. P. And the other one was T?
And the other one was T.
Well, we're waiting for somebody on the chat board to come up with it.
Michael McGuire says Patricia in 2008. That is incorrect.
These are the only ones. And these are the only ones that of those letters that were retired.
I have no memory of either storm to tell you. Well, Rich Rothmansky gets it correct. Paloma. I'm sorry, Paloma is the P storm. Yes, and Paloma was in 2008. Again, I have absolutely no memory of this whatsoever.
Now we have to figure out the T.
And now the T. Just for a little.
How about taco?
Oh, stop it. So Hurricane Paloma, just for a little history.
By the way, is that by? I'm sorry to interrupt. Is that the most excruciatingly bothersome, annoying commercial on television, where this couple is in the car and they come this close to hitting the back of the car, and it's a truck that's selling tacos, and they always say, "How about tacos?" Tacos. I hate that commercial.
I've never seen it. I've never seen
it. Well, down there, maybe you may not see it where you are, but I mean, up here in New York, it proliferates here on the television channels. So
it said Hurricane Paloma was the 7th most intense Atlantic hurricane on record. It was the 16th tropical storm, 8th hurricane, and 5th major of 2008. A late season hurricane. It set several records for intensity. Paloma was the 6th most powerful hurricane on record in the Atlantic Basin, behind only the 1932 Cuba hurricane, the 2020 Hurricane Iota and Eta, and a tie with 1999's Lenny and 2001's Michelle. It also marked the first time that at least one major hurricane formed in every month of the hurricane season from July to November, with only June not having a major in that season. It apparently, let's see, blah, 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 intensified Category 4, then weakened rapidly, making landfall as a 2 near Santa Cruz del Sur in Cuba, and then weakened further after that. So that's the history of Hurricane Paloma. So,
and I'm just like you. I have no remembrance of. Well, yeah. All right. I remember. I could remember. You mentioned the name Paloma, and I could remember that it was at one time a tropical system. But I mean, I don't really have any clue or remembrance of what it did. I'm still working on T. I'm still trying to figure out what T was.
Mrs. Rayo suggests Teresa. That is incorrect. I don't know. I don't know that I remember the name Teresa in there. I'm sure it's there somewhere, but I don't. I just don't remember it. But Teresa is not the answer, or Hurricane Tessie. And I don't see any other guesses on the chat board. I thought maybe Rich got the Paloma one. I don't get the T one. So are we
The
giving
T
up?
must have been the T must be a very obscure name.
No.
If it was retired, maybe the T storm was retired like 50 years ago or 40 years ago. Is that why we don't remember it?
No, it's actually very relatively recent.
Really?
Yes.
Well, what possibly could you at least give us a hint and give us an idea of whether or not it was of the male or female gender?
Male.
Male. All right. Tucker.
Yeah. No. It was.
No.
It was.
Recently. It was recently.
It was.
Look,
Yes. It was in this. It was in this current century, and it was the latest tropical cyclone in a calendar year to strike the Windward Islands.
Now I see on the chat board, Rich Rothmansky says Thomas. Now I don't think we ever had a Thomas, but we did have a Tomas.
Tomas. It is Tomas, and it was in 2010. And according to Wikipedia, which gave us the information by the way of Paloma, the latest tropical cyclone, as I said, to strike the Windward Islands, the 19th storm and 12th hurricane of the 2010 season. Tomas developed from a tropical wave east of the Windward Islands on October 29th, quickly intensified to a hurricane, moved through the Windward Islands, passed over St. Lucia after reaching Category 2 status. On the Saffir-Simpson scale, Thomas quickly weakened to a tropical storm in the central Caribbean due to strong wind shear and dry air, and later regained hurricane status as it reorganized near the Windward Passage. 44 deaths because of flooding and and it intensified apparently a cholera outbreak, indirectly causing more fatalities and $500 million in damage. So those are your storms for today. So that actually worked out, I thought, quite nicely. So maybe we'll do that again as we move along. So here we are at 9:34 Eastern Time. So I think it's time that we say good night. I actually have to get up early tomorrow because I have to go to the doctor. So we're going to be off the next 2 days. Sunday's show will be at Sunday evening. Why don't we say for either 7:30 or 8 o'clock? I think 7:30 will work, but just in case I come back, I need a little extra time. We might push it to 8. Is that good for you?
I wanted to actually start getting ready by 8 o'clock for Sky. Guys, can we do 7? Well, actually,
that's right. You got the eclipse.
You.
Okay, so you know what? Actually, I should be back because it's an early day birthday party. So I think we could probably do 7. If it winds up being a few minutes after that, maybe it'll be 7:10 or 7:15. But I think I can make it back by 7.
All right, and
okay.
It'll be a relatively short show, hopefully.
Okay. So again, I'm sorry for I'm sorry for tonight's technical errors on my end. I hope my audio picked up a little bit as we. I could see the levels here, but I guess, like I said, when Microsoft does these Windows updates, it changes everything, and it's really annoying.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I had to come off of my headphones because the headphone was going beep beep beep, which means I had to start charging it, or else I was going to lose.
So I'm not gonna get into that conversation with you. So
right.
have a great evening, everybody. Enjoy your next 2 days, and we'll see you on Sunday at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, not at 11 a.m. but 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Good night, everybody.
Nighty night. Yeah.